for me, please?
Leah Redmond.
And Leah, you are?
I'm the sister of David Redmond.
So the main problem you have is the church in East Wall and how they conducted your brother's funeral service.
Yes, definitely. And at first I wasn't going to do anything about it, but all the residents as well was getting on to me and saying, no, you definitely have to do something about it, because they knew I was good at social media, so they kind of more encouraged me, because I'm the type of person that let something go. But now with the boost of all the residents, I'm finally doing something to make everyone and the Archbishop aware of what's happening in the East Wall.
Okay, so for people who don't know and they're not residents, what happened the day of your brother's funeral?
So it was just the treatment. So at the start it was like the delay of when the funeral was. The priest was too busy, he doesn't work on certain days. So finally from the funeral home and my father, they finally set it on Thursday for the funeral, so that happened. But then they gave us tickets and we had to give 50 tickets out. We left short of 3 and I had to plan the funeral arrangements and think of who to give out the tickets while grieving. So it was an absolutely nightmare, because I was afraid I was leaving out family members. So it was heartbreaking.
So in the middle of all your bereavement and your grief, you're trying to figure out tickets.
Yeah, definitely. So it's like I end up giving 25 out to my mother's side and then 25 out to my father's side, and just let them deal with it.
And David was obviously very popular in the area.
Yeah, he was big into pigeons, so he would have been a member of the pigeon club, so I was afraid I'd leave out them too.
Because I know this is very difficult for you.
Yeah.
So did people have to stand outside?
Yeah, people had to stand outside, and then there was actually 10 tickets left over, and the 2 standing outside said there was already enough in the church, and that's when my uncle said, how is that when there's still 10 tickets left? So I don't know if the 10 other people got in or didn't. I just didn't really care, to be honest.
So it's kind of like a haze for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's all really like, there's still bits that I'm not even aware of, and as soon as I set up the petition, loads are texting me and were like, you should have added in this bit, but I think there's already enough bits in it. So
as a family you feel kind of forgotten, pushed out and disregarded?
Yeah, it just felt like you didn't get a good service the way other churches would have, like with the priest not showing up when he came down, came home, or like I know with COVID I respect the regulations, but even like come to the gate just to show everyone else that you showed up even.
So let's go back to your brother. He passed away suddenly.
Yeah, in the house. So it's still all a shock. So we're still all shocked, to be honest.
And you contact the priest and your brother's brought home and he's laid out in the house.
And no priest showed up, but that didn't like really register to me. It was just an elderly family member said, where's the priest? And I was like, what? Like, yeah, to say a prayers. And I was like, oh, I don't know, but it was like 8:30 at the time, and I was like, just leave it. I was thinking he'd come tomorrow, but then no one showed up either. And then an elderly neighbour came in to say the rosary as the lid of the coffin was being put on.
And you brought David to St. Joseph's Church?
Yeah, St. Joseph's Church, but everyone was giving out saying you shouldn't go there, you won't get the great service. But I was saying it'd be a shame because we only live across the road, and if we had to pass that church to go to a different church, it'd be a shame, especially because he got baptised. It made his communion and confirmation, and the fact that we live across the road, so it would have been a disgrace really if we went elsewhere.
So you all leave the house with David to make his final journey to the church and then to his final resting place, and you get to the church, and what happens?
And we get to the church, there's 2 people standing there, a man and a woman, and just the minute we're up there, we go up the 3 steps, and then the 6 lads with the coffin ask for tickets. And then we all had our tickets, but my mother, she didn't have a ticket, she didn't have her bag, she'd no pockets, like she's not in her right frame of mind. She asked for a ticket, she's standing there, didn't know what to say. our sister that was like basically holding her up was like looking at them saying he's for real, but she ended up knowing the person in the queue and they just end up letting her in. Well, understandably they probably have to be asked, but like not to the mother, you don't ask that.
Well, there's enough going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And so you get inside the church and then there's the offertory and there's singing and there's the webcam. They're big issues for you as well.
Yeah, so we hired in our own singer and it was only holy songs. We respect that, but they gave us a list of what holy songs to do. But the singer didn't sing most of them, but she sang holy ones, but that was fine. And then we had a drone operator, but he had a tripod camera. And the priest asked me father, as soon as we sat down, where was the drone? And he was like, there's no drone in the church. And he was telling him there's a tripod, and Sister Helen came over and was pointing out where the drone operator was standing with his tripod stand.
So your brother's funeral was nothing like you would have liked him to be remembered by?
No, definitely not. Especially like the church, alright, I really don't care, but the fact of the graveyard bit is very upsetting.
So tell me what happened when you made it to the graveyard.
So we got to the graveyard, we weren't told about the priest or anything not showing up. We were waiting 25 minutes there, and then my cousin Abbie had to sing a few songs and play a few songs on the phone, and then Sister Helen arrived 25 minutes late, but David was already gone down into the ground, so she said a prayer and that was it.
And how are you all feeling now? I know this. It's a big question because you're still in shock, but to have to deal with a funeral like that on top that didn't do David justice.
Yeah, definitely very upsetting. And then the fact of hearing other people's stories and how they felt as well. But even more, like the family that are elder, like they really can't get over like the fact, especially because they be very religious and would have had like a big upkeep of the church, kind of. They would have been attending the church and donating when they were coming around and all. They just can't believe it.
Do you feel that David has been let down?
Yeah, definitely, but not only David, like I'm talking on behalf of the East Wall residents and all the other people that passed away that didn't live in East Wall, were from East Wall and they had to go elsewhere as well. So I'm speaking up for David and the rest of the East Wall people that are passed too and their families.
And you've brought a complaint to the Archbishop of Dublin?
Yeah, so I've sent emails and my mother's friend sent emails as well. We got an automatic one to say that it was being sent, but we'll be in touch. But that'll probably just to keep us quiet, but we're still waiting, so hopefully they will be in touch. But other priests have been on to us and like they're not really obliged to be onto us, but you just show that they have so much compassion in what they do and they have all the empathy as well, and they send in text messages and also very grateful for those priests and anyhow texting. That since David passing, but then the rest of the residents as well are like really putting their input of it too. They're just glad now it's being made aware of to the Archbishop, so hopefully something is done about it.
So just to let you know, I've spoken to Sister Helen and she said a lot of what's happened was to do with COVID regulations, that only 50 people were allowed into the church, but that has changed. Tickets was to control numbers, and they can't afford a webcam, and that the lack of prayers on the altar was to do with movement and stopping the spread of COVID-19. And that is what she told me. What do you say to that?
I just don't see why every other church is given a good service and that church is, the East Wall Church, is not. Like, why can all other churches give the good right service and order that East Wall Church is not? But I'm sure if they made East Wall be aware of they can't afford the camera, we'd all like donate, because we are a great community, and the fact that it would be benefit for the community and the church, like I'm sure they would donate for the camera, because that's a big part now with COVID. So especially for the people that are standing outside not having a clue what's going on, where if they get out their phone they can it's more like feeling that they're in the church as well while watching the phone. So if they even had explained that to other people when their family passed, I'm sure there would have been donations made to the church for the camera.
And also Sister Helen said that it's not the function of the priest to attend the house here for prayers and the burial. I've never heard of that.
Well, I've never heard of that either, and especially with COVID, it's very understandable, but even come outdoor to the garden and show people that you've made an effort. But I know other priests have came, done a lot, went out of their way to other people from East Wall that had to go to other parishes. Like, they're not really obliged because they're not really the members' priests, so why, like, if one priest can't do it and the others can, I don't understand it.
Well, Leah, you were David's only sister?
Yeah, and the youngest too.
Okay, well, you didn't get a chance to say much about him when he passed, and you didn't get a chance to give him a great tribute on the altar. So what would you like to tell us about David? And you can take your time with this now.
Yeah.
You say what you want. You're doing absolutely brilliant.
He was a great big brother. He was the best uncle to his nieces and nephews. He was the eldest brother, and he was just great. He had a smile that would light up to any room. He was a character, and he was a quiet fella. Like, you wouldn't know much of his business. And now that he's passed, like, just people from England and all texting, because he's a pigeon man, and they just can't believe, like, they're still in shock as well. He's actually bought a lot of pigeons. So my brother Eric is looking forward to them coming so we can get them in great nick and hopefully get them racing and do proud.
So he lit up the house and he lit up everywhere.
Yeah, the house is so quiet with him. It's just crazy. Granny Stella, she's only in the door and she's screaming for him, and he's not there, and she's only 2, and she just can't believe, like, because the minute she'd come down, he'd be running down the stairs, and she just can't believe, like, there's no David. So when she's passing the room, like, she won't even go in. It's like she knows something, so it's just mad.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about him? How's your mum and dad?
They're still in shock, but they're trying to be strong for, obviously, their grandchildren, and trying to be strong for us as too. They don't really want to show us, like, how upset they are, because obviously they're the mother and father, so they're trying to, like, keep strong for the kids as well.
Yeah. So he sounded like a fantastic big brother.
Yeah, it definitely was. He was definitely the housemaker, and anyhow, like, even he was very great at cleaning and everything. So it's just more extra, like, the dogs are crying and all at night looking for him, because he would have been great for, like, he loved animals. He'd bring them out on walks. He used to go walking with his auntie, and he'd bring his 2 dogs and her dog. He was just great, really.
I think you've done him really proud now.
Well, hopefully, and anyhow, I really hope something is, the Archbishop is aware of the upset of East Wall Church to everyone in the East Wall community, and anyhow.
It's very, very important to give your loved ones a good sending off, isn't it? It's really important.
Yes, definitely. So it's just, all I can say is just take each day step by step and hold your loved ones really tight, because you just don't know.
Leah, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for listening, and hopefully everyone gets all the great help and be listened to, and hopefully the Archbishop understands how the community of East Wall is feeling, and anyhow.